KEIR Alexander, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
So, we were talking a little bit offline, and I thought during the quarantine that this was going to be it. This was going to be like my full-time job. Maybe this show will be the thing. And I've never been busier. And I think we must have rescheduled our app, maybe 3 different times. I had to change, you had to change, I had to change, you had to change,
Well, it's funny. It's funny because when you first reached out to me, I was only working partly employed. I was just doing on and off stuff and I had availability. But then all of a sudden, I just get a call saying, hey, we're offering you a full-time job. And then I was like, oh boy, from like when to when? And I was just like, oh boy. So I had to reschedule that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll talk about it later. I also got the virus too, and I just needed time to heal. And then just like, all right, after the holidays, I'm just going to book at this time. And now we're at this time. And I'm just like, let's do this.
Awesome. So post-production assistant and editor and
I haven't done any editing yet so far. I mean, for those of you wondering, I'm actually in the field of non-scripted television, which is basically documentaries, reality. We do a bunch of stuff with TLC. Basically, my job so far as of right now is to help with all the deliverables, like transcription, which is, I don't know if you've done transcribing, it's a pain in the butt and time consuming, but it needs to be done. Learning music cue sheets and text lists, element sheets, and also got to organize those release forms, scan them, and making sure they're not lost. Otherwise, then it's bad news bears.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when I first started, it was actually when there was an office move. So they moved from Stanford to Greenwich, and I just literally jumped in the fire and just helping unpack all their stuff, set up their furniture, organize all their hard drives. Oh, and did I mention the day after I did this, or the day before I was doing this, I ran a half marathon, so my legs were like destroyed. But I was like, I gotta do it. I gotta do it.
Oh yeah, I've worn myself out before like that, and just spaghetti legs and furniture.
Yeah, no, but it was a lot of fun, and it was like I was in my element. I was just reminding myself, all right, this is this type of cord, this is that type, and I was just helping organize everything that they needed, and just like trying to categorize all their drives. And no, it was fun, and I'm the only, because of all the COVID restraints, like I'm the only one in the office. I kept my mask on, except if I'm in my office, because it's my own domain. And yeah, just like trying to, I was just left to my devices. I talked to my supervisor on the phone if he needs anything, and I'm just like blasting music or a podcast, and I'm just like, yay, I couldn't do this before. This is fun.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I worked at Discovery for a while, Discovery Channel in Silver Spring, and it was a great opportunity, but there were definitely some times I was able to listen to Howard Stern, and maybe maybe pull out my personal laptop, work on some side projects, passion projects, which is now the full-time freelance stuff. So that's, but it's definitely, you have your opportunities to multitask. I mean, being a multitasker is really can be beneficial.
Oh, dude, no, definitely. I didn't think I was a multitasker because this one job that I had, which it was by my own fault because I was young and stupid, and I just thought, yeah, I got handed this job. I wasn't really meeting the expectations they were meeting, and they let me go, and I always beat myself up. But now I'm like, this is my redemption, because now I'm just thinking, all right, I was a failure. You don't mope around about it. You learn from it, and I'm like trying to do that, and I just became so neurotic and just like, I need to make sure X, Y, and Z is done, and just like boom, boom, boom.
So you got COVID.
Yep.
So pretty much the wife and the baby boy got COVID too, and we all kicked it. We all recovered safely. He kicked it. He wasn't even 1 yet, and he kicked it quicker than we did. But so let me ask you this: what was the worst or most excruciating part about it?
I think just getting both the email and the call from urgent care saying, yeah, you got it, because that was when I was really feeling the symptoms, because the night before I was just feeling a tickle in my throat, and during the wintertime I always get sick. I always feel like, yeah, it's allergy stuff. My respiratory is not that great. Then I coughed so bad, like my left arm was in pain, and I was just like, uh-oh. Then I woke up with a fever dream, 4 a.m, and I just got up and I got dressed and I go, let's go to urgent care. Let's line up there right now. and I got there around 6:30, and it was a long, like, by the time it opened, I looked behind me and the line just went 3 blocks away. This is back in December, for all of you wondering. And yeah, but to answer your question, it's just that realization. And then as soon as I got it, I called everyone that I needed to call, like my parents, because this was after Thanksgiving, and just letting them know I got it. And then after that, I just laid my head down. I was just like, oh, because that's when all the stress was happening. And then it was just those 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, of just feeling so weak, so frail, coughing a lot, and just having massive migraines, and just like, I was thinking I want to die.
So for me, the aches and the chills, like just
Dude,
when you're in bed and you just kind of, if you're laying in bed and you just kind of shift, it was excruciating just to shift around in bed.
yeah, no,
The
I was
slightest shift.
no, the chills were the worst, definitely, because I was just shivering and stuff, and I was trying to wear so many things. And when you're sweating, it's usually a good thing, but while you're still feeling those chills, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you're feeling those chills, and then it's wet, and it's like, oh great, now I need to find energy to like change my bed sheets again, change my clothes again,
Yeah.
figure out how to do laundry. Well, I did, because I have a apartment, and I lucked out, and the laundry room is right across. So I made sure to wear gloves, wear masks, and I brought a Clorox wipe. So after I use it, I just wipe it down. And I think, and what I found funny was I told my super, because I wanted to be responsible, and he says, thank you. I think you're the only person so far that has it. And I'm thinking either everyone else went quiet and I'm the nicest person, or I'm the first one in our building. And I was like, oh boy. So that was a little pressure. So, but no,
Yeah.
but I think also there was also that the physical and um, like illness stress, but there was also the mental stress, because I was feeling cooped up. I'm just my parents are trying to make sure I'm okay. Everyone else is checking up on me. And first of all, thank you to my parents. Thank you to my best friend that went grocery shopping and dropped everything off. That was a blessing. And my godmother, who actually made food for me. I'm not a soup person, but when she makes soup, I'm like, hand it over. That's delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, it's funny you mentioned soup. So the weirdest, the biggest mind F for me was the loss of taste and smell. I experienced that.
I
And
surprisingly didn't.
and that was a mind F for me. So
Yeah, I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell. Like, I was just like, I can still taste, I can still smell. I'm just like having coughs, I have migraines, and I have aches and pains. That's about it. But after those first 4 days, I felt like I recovered, and I just had to stay cooped up for the next, what was it, 8 days, 9 or 8 days.
mhm.
And yeah, that's just what I had to do. And but by the time I was ready to go out into the world, I was like, yay. But my boss asked me to get a PCR test. So I was like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
But then it came negative, because my doctor was saying, yeah, there's some COVID cells still in your nose, but you don't need to quarantine. You can live your life, but your boss does want you to get a negative test. So we'll reschedule Friday. And I'm just thinking, oh, come on. Because this was also when I needed to get a new car, because we've had to book that several times. And I wanted to spend time with my family. And then thankfully, I got that test and I got the negative result. And I'm like, are we all good? We're good. Cool. And I just was mentally recovering from that. And I just spent 2 weeks with my parents in Westport, just to get away from my apartment, because I got too acquainted with it. And yeah, just tried to. And I also had a 2 week break from work. So it was just like a nice little meditative state for me to not think too much about work, because I was still working while had the virus, and just like enjoy my new car, and just like think, what are some things I'm going to do for next year? What are we going to do? And all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, aside from getting COVID, and the great news is you got a job, but how else have you been impacted by the last, what is it, what's it been now, a year, like
Almost a
11
year.
months? Yeah.
Yeah.
How else have you been impacted? I mean,
I will say, because I keep recycling this, because a year ago in March, because I was getting a little fatigued going from White Plains to New York City all the time for a job that was, I love the company, 0.0. It's a great company. But at the same time, it was just like, oh man, I'm just feeling a little tired, a little drained, not really doing anything. I was just a receptionist, and there would be some things I would do, but at the same time, I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm spending $200 a month just like going to the city, doing nothing, getting paid minimum wage. Again, no disrespect to the company, but it's just the nature of like the business world, I guess. But then when it happened, I got to get more acquainted with my apartment, and I got to just rearrange everything. I cleaned everything out, and I just felt like, oh, cool, now I can be a proper homeowner. And I was just, catching up on shows, catching up on some books, and reevaluating myself and realizing, what are my goals? What do I want after working so much in this industry? What do I want to gain from it? And what are the plans for when things open up? But a lot of things that I did, and I thank my best friend for doing this. I did a shit ton of running. I did so much running, and like I was losing weight again, and I felt that confidence because when you're exercising, you get that dopamine effect of just like, oh, cool, I feel good about myself. Even if I have a bad day and I'm just thinking, oh man, the world is in shambles. But when I ran 5 or 7 miles that day afterwards, and I just go home and I have a beer, just like, oh, okay, I feel good about myself. What's on?
Right. Yeah. And I see, we brought our baby boy home a week before quarantine hit.
Ooh.
And so, the first couple of months, the wife was still recovering from the pregnancy, from the birth. And, the kid would sleep all the time. So, she would monitor him. She'd have her phone. I was still running. I was still working out downstairs in the lounge, like every day, great shape. And then at some point, he starts getting more active, and you got to be more hands-on with him. And then the working out started diminishing, and now it's flipped on me, and I'm struggling to keep up with the working out. And we got a bike, so she could do the Peloton app. And she's like the monster now. She's working out like once or twice a day, every day, and I can barely fit it in. I'm running around doing all this stuff around the house and picking them up, carrying them up and down the steps, and she does her fair share too. But somehow, miraculously, she's able to fit in that workouts, man. And I'm like, I don't think I ran since last summer.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, my girlfriend got me into like this Facebook group called Geeknasium. It's organized by this girl named Heather, who does a lot of cosplay and stuff based off comic book, video game characters, and she makes all these workouts based off the Avengers and stuff. I'm like, all right, I can sign up for this. And they were really good too. Like there were some core workouts that I was doing, and I was just like, oh yeah, feeling it. So yeah, I kept myself proactive. I also walked every morning. Like I would walk like 6 miles a day, listening to podcasts. Or a new thing I'm getting into, audio dramas, which are also podcasts with stories. And I was just like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah. I was definitely interested in getting into some of those. Definitely interested in trying to find. So, how do I put this? All right, so the quarantine happened, and I had a number of projects, and I had a number of projects in the works, number of scripts, and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, okay, with the quarantine and no actors, I could reach out to voiceover actors and possibly, maybe turn some of my scripts into those radio serials, those dramatic radio serials, or motion comics. Or some sort of like very simple animation or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I was thinking about that too. Because I was thinking, this is like the easiest thing to produce during like all this, because everyone can work from home. Audio is easy to transfer than video, and you just need to record from home. You just need to edit and just like try to get all those sound pieces in, and you don't need to leave your house. Because when I was learning about, because I'm such a Marvel fan, I was listening to the Marvel audio dramas like Wolverine: The Long Night or The Lost Trail, which anyone listen to those. Richard Armitage does a great Wolverine. It's awesome. And I was listening to all the people that were working behind the scenes, and I was just like, they're saying, I want to be creative, but I also don't want to leave a room where there's air conditioning. I just like, oh, that sounds awesome. Because when you're on an actual set, physical set, it's just like rain, shine, cold, wet, hot. You just gotta hustle and just gotta tough it out.
Oh yeah.
And then of course, I mean, I haven't had this but I heard stories like people have to deal with egos. Like a friend of a friend told me they met Bruce Willis, and he went to say on set before they started shooting, "Oh, I'm a fan." And supposedly Bruce Willis told one of the producers, "Get that kid out of here. He's fired. I don't want to work with a fan." Again, I can't confirm nor deny this happened, but it could be one of those things.
I don't know. Like you've got some art, you got some artists, you got some egos. I mean, for me, when I think about that, I always think back, like, why did I get involved in this business? Why did I get involved in filmmaking and TV?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a fan of Captain America, because I was a fan of Luke Skywalker, because I was a fan of, Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that position, how would they react? How would they react to our current state of affairs? How would they act? How would they behave if they were president?
Mm-hmm.
How would they behave if they were in a position of power? How would they behave if someone walked up to them and said, I admire you? And it's like, get them out of here. Like, that's not how they would react. I got into filmmaking because I was a fan of the hero, and I know, the world is not that sunshine and rainbows,
No.
unfortunately, but I don't see why we can't strive to be.
Exactly.
And you have a lot of predatorial mindsets that get into filmmaking because of power and money.
Mm-hmm.
They can take advantage of actors or actresses because they're in a position of power, but that's not why I got into filmmaking. Why did some of these scumbags get into filmmaking? I got into filmmaking because of who Superman and Luke Skywalker and Steve Rogers, Captain America,
right.
what they represent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We all just want to be, we all want to tell an epic story. We all want to be the hero. We all want to entertain people, and that's, I don't know. And overall, it's fun to be creative. It's a really unique business, and I remember listening to back when Chris Hardwick did his Nerds podcast, and he had Ron Perlman. And Ron Perlman, it stuck with me for a while. He's just like, we're all being creatives. I'm paraphrasing. We're all being creatives. We're all doing our thing. And if you're like some ungrateful twat who just thinks you're better than everyone, then fuck you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and one of the most intimidating looking dudes, probably Ron Perlman, but for him to say that, and I've heard nothing but great things about that guy, working with him. And
mm-hmm. No, I hear he's cool. I mean, which is funny because we all know him as Hellboy or Sons of Anarchy, but I still think of him as Mr. Krabs because he does the voice for Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, it's funny that the nicest dude will play the cheapest character in a cartoon show.
Right.
But it just means he's good at what he does.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier you spent a lot of time binge watching and catching up on shows. What's one thing? What's one movie or one show that stands out? I mean, it's been 11 months, so I'm sure there's quite a bit. But
I'm just gonna say the ones that are at the top of my head. Definitely Community, because that was a show I really wanted to watch, and as soon as it dropped on Netflix, I always want a nice long comedy, something like The Office or Parks and Rec to get me through a long period, and Community definitely helped, and it was just so funny, and it was kind of interesting to see where the Russo brothers started that, and Arrested Development, how they started working with an ensemble cast in a long show, and I'm just like, this is great. And I'm also an anime fan, and I was watching Hunter x Hunter that my friend kept telling me to watch, which is a story about superpowered hunters that are part of this hunters guild and stuff, and it's basically every anime trope action show that you can imagine, but it's great animation, great character design, and I was just going through it because I usually watch in Japanese subs, but with subtitles, but I was like, you know what, let's just put the dub on because I like the voice actors, and I just want to get through it, and then I'll watch the rest of the season on Crunchyroll. And when HBO Max came out, I definitely was binging this new show that J.G. Quintel created, the guy who did Regular Show, because the newest season dropped yesterday, Close Enough, because I remember that was announced back in 2017, and they were saying, oh, this is going to be part of TBS's new adult animated period. It's going to be like it's going to be like Fox's Animation Domination or Adult Swim's program, and they dead silence. It's been dead silence, and we're just like, what happened to the show? And then HBO Max happened, and it was like, oh, there it is. And I was like, you know what? Worth the wait. It was funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, me and the wife, we watched quite a bit, and we just finished Behind Her Eyes on Netflix. British show, 6 episodes. Like, what? And I don't want to give too much away, but I definitely saw it going where it was going. My wife was completely blown away, but definitely one hell of a plot twist, and plot twist is actually not the correct terminology. One hell of a story twist. People have always called it a plot twist, and that's not exactly accurate, because the plot is the way the story is told.
Yeah.
The story is like what's happening, and when something happens completely unexpected, then it's really a story twist, not a plot twist. But
I think it's just because people like using the film terms, and it's just like plot or scene, sequence, the mise en scène. And it's just like, listen, I've been studying screenwriting. It's just basic story. We don't need to overcomplicate it. We don't need to oversimplify it either. So like, it's a story twist because we're watching a story.
Well, I think a better, easier terminology would be it's got one hell of a twist ending.
Okay.
Yeah, twist ending. You know, like M. Night, you know, because M. Night has the same plot. All his movies have the same plot, beginning, middle, end. But Tarantino has a different plot. He likes to jump around in time with his earlier films anyway. Reservoir Dogs had a drastically different plot than Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
But they both had twist endings. So, but yeah, I mean, Behind Her Eyes was one hell of a thing. I just started The Outsider on HBO.
Oh, cool.
Jason Bateman. I think it's based on a Stephen King book.
That's cool.
It's dark. It's creepy. Yeah.
But also when it dropped on Netflix and then the 3rd season dropped, I definitely just jumped on into Cobra Kai, and I was just thinking,
Cobra Kai, man.
Dude.
Yeah, dude.
So great.
I loved it. I
know.
It's so nostalgic, and they're totally playing on. I think they're only playing off the first Karate Kid movie.
That's what I thought at first, but then they started referencing the 2nd and the 3rd one, and I was just like, oh. And
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
And my girlfriend and I are just trolling and joking around, and we're like, are they going to mention Hilary Swank's character from the new Karate Kid? That would be funny. And
that's a possibility. Now, I'll tell you why. Okay, so Ralph Macchio decided to jump into it, you know, full on, because and I that was kind of the hope. But I know in the first season of Cobra Kai, Ralph Macchio had a much smaller role. I think he popped up maybe a few times in the later episodes of the first season.
Yeah.
But of course, when it comes to Ralph Macchio, yes, they're going to touch upon part 3 and part 4. But listen, Hilary Swank, she already had a successful property with Netflix. I don't see why she wouldn't jump in. And everybody, you know, frowns upon the next Karate Kid, but I don't see why not.
I mean, like, why not? Like, my girlfriend Veronica, she made a theory. Very minor spoilers. There's a character named Tori. We never see her mom, and she's like, could her mom be Hilary Swank's character? And I'm like, could be a possibility. And then Screen Rant dropped an article a week ago, and she goes, I called it before it was cool.
So which one's Tori?
She showed up in the 2nd season. She was like the bad girl that hung out with Miguel. Right?
I do think they show her mom. How far are you in season 3?
I finished it. I don't know, because like
was that an abusive? Was that like an abusive sister?
Well, I know that the landlord was abusing her because her mom was like in the apartment. Because we never saw her face. We just only heard her voice. So it's like, could be. And that would be an interesting, because those are questions. It's like, did Danny ever know about her? Did Mr. Miyagi ever mention it? Because Mr. Miyagi was around when Danny got married, so I don't know.
So Mr. Miyagi was at Danny's wedding with his now wife that co-runs the dealership.
That's what I remember. I remember like Sam, his daughter, remembers him and stuff like that. Because I don't think they really gave a date when he passed, and they can't obviously show any flashbacks because Pat Maria, rest in peace. But like I don't know, it's one of those things. Again, I'll have to rewatch it because as soon as season 4 is going to drop again, I'm definitely rewatching all of that again just to catch up. And it's also going to be interesting at how different it will be because first 3 seasons were produced by YouTube Red, where this 4th season is going to be done by Netflix, and it would be kind of interesting to see how different is it going to be, because you can kind of tell like what's a Netflix show and with the production value and just like they give so much creative freedom to writers, which is both a good thing, it could be a bad thing, because they're just like, we should do this and do this, no limitations. Like, well, some limitations are okay.
Well, it's amazing what a fan theory and what these pop culture YouTube videos.
Yeah.
These top 10 videos and these film theory. What is it? Film theorists. There's a channel called Film Theorists, Screen Rant, Looper, Film Junkies, and they come up with these fan theories like, was Daniel LaRusso really the bully and did Johnny get screwed over?
My friend John, he always trolls whenever we talk about both the first Karate Kid and the Dark Knight, and he would just say Batman and Daniel's son were the villains in those movies. Think about it. Johnny Lawrence was just living his life, doing what he knew what was right, and then this punk from New Jersey comes in, steals his woman, messes things up, and thinks he's better at karate than he is.
New Jersey of all places. I mean, Daniel LaRusso is the villain. He's from Jersey.
I know, right?
So now you got the job. You're back working.
Yeah, I am.
And what's next on the agenda? Say 6 months to a year from now. What's next on the agenda? What's the next set of goals?
Definitely, the next set of goals is to try to. I mean, because you're in post production, you got a long hours, but I'm really trying to use my time outside to like do some creative stuff, like what you're doing. Maybe do some podcasts, like get some friends together. I have a few podcast ideas, maybe some scripted ones just to like lay it out there, just like, shoestring budget. I got some equipment from a dude who has this podcast, and I just got like some old like microphones and a mixer. I just need to get like a Zoom recorder and just, I don't know, just keep going with the creative stuff. And of course I might take a class on it, but also make my own business, like my own production company, because I've always had that feeling, because I've enjoyed everywhere where I've been to, but I've also come to the realization, it's like, what? I also would like to work for myself. I like to be my own boss and just follow my own, endeavors. And one day I would like to make either an audio production company in Westchester or something. So it's just like, I'm close to home and you don't have to do the whole, and again, I'm not shaming anyone who does this, but like go to LA and tries to make it big and just serves coffee to a producer hoping they can read their screenplay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If people want to do it, that's their prerogative. But I'm like, you know what? My dad told me back when I was younger, trying to apply for internships and stuff, is like, you keep waiting for them to give you permission, but the only person that will give you permission is you. You got to do this. So it's mainly it's a mental filter that's just, or a little bit of an emotional weight. It's like, can I do it? Can I? But you just got to get out of those elements. I'm still trying to get out of those elements, and I'm just trying to like, basically my idea is do a job to help me a little bit, and maybe look around for some other stuff just to give myself more experience. But the end goal was just to get so much experience, figure everything out, and just make my own business, to make my own content and get people who are talented, maybe some friends who are talented, and just work together and just have that mindset where it's like, it's just fun and I'm just playing every day. And that old expression, if you do what you love doing every day, it doesn't feel like work. Kind of like that mentality.
And it's funny you mentioned Cobra Kai. So there was a line, I forget which episode it was. I don't even think I'm halfway through the 3rd season, but Danny said, Mr. Miyagi said to me, the man who the man who works for passion makes more money than the man who works for money.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And yeah, and it's like, if you actually care about it, you're going to work harder. You're going to stay with it. You're going to love it more, and you'll make more money doing it. And then if you're just out
Mm-hmm.
for money, then you're probably going to quit and look for something else, and then quit and look for something else, and quit
Yeah.
and look for something else. And it's like, if you're doing what you love, if you've made a decision to do something that you love, you're going to stick with it, and you'll rise to the top.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the
No,
man, yeah. And that really blew me away. That really stuck with me.
no, definitely. Yeah, no, it was just a thought that I had because, I just I don't know, I just woke up one day and I just thought, oh man, I'm tired of working for other people. Except right now. Right now this is good. But in that mindset when I was feeling frustrated, I was just like, you know what, that should be my end goal. It's just like, if I because I've been doing this so long, I've learned a lot from it. There's a lot of fun that can apply to it. Might as well use it for my own endeavors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, touching upon that, what drives you? What's your driving force? What inspires you to do what inspires you to do what? So
Uh
what is it that drives you and to do what you do, and what is it that you eventually want to do?
um that's a good question. I don't think I've really touched about like what it is that drives me. I mean, if I can go to like some bare basics, it is just to make sure that I'm still working and still in the workforce, that I'm still that cog in the machine that's helping everything run good. So that way I do get a decent income and, I have a girlfriend that I love and we want to potentially have a future together. And, it's like that idea is like, basically it's the American dream. Like, I just want to keep doing this because it's something that I like doing and I want it to help me reach to a point of happiness.
Yeah.
As vague and complicated that is, but that's one of the, in a nutshell, it's just that I'll just want to keep doing things that make me happy. That's going to keep me being happy. And that's generally what's been driving me. It's just like, I know there's a light out the end of the tunnel because everyone has had their stories where they started out, whether it's film, whether it's TV, digital media, or whatever, or music. They had to go from the ground up, but eventually they just kept going, kept going, kept going. Even some of the coolest 40-year-olds I know that have a huge success, that have been in major movies or worked with TV companies, still are trying to figure it out, but they've had such a big luxurious resume, and I just thought that it was interesting. And I'm just like, well, I just want to keep going because the journey is always more funner than the actual destination, let's be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, because what I always find is, you work 2, 3, 4 weeks on a film, you work 2 months on a film,
Mm-hmm.
however long,
Mm-hmm.
and finally you get to see the film completed. You watch it, but every scene, every scene, you're like, man, I remember trying to like lock down that bar. We couldn't have a complete lockdown on that bar. All these drunk people were coming into that back room,
Yeah.
that we had secured this room in this bar, and all these drunk people kept coming in and biffing the scene, botching the scene. Man, I remember when we were trying to shoot that scene at that field, and
I know exactly what you're talking about
yeah,
because when I graduated college, after I did my first internship at Pawn Stars, I came back to my college town because they were shooting a film, an indie film. It's called The Automatic Hate, Hate, and it might still be on Netflix. That's how I watched it, and I just remember I had to dig a grave, and when I was 20, how old was I? I was 23, and I just thought, well, I'm digging a grave. I never thought I'd accomplish this, and I just kept thinking, I'm gonna dig this grave so good. And I just joke, they should just credit me in the credits, professional grave digger,
right,
because I just thought this is so morbid and messed up. But when I saw the scene, I was like, I did that.
yeah,
Wish it was deeper, but I did it.
yeah. Yeah, and of course, the destination
Mm-hmm.
is also important, but the beauty of it is that journey that got you there. And
Oh, absolutely.
you always see those moments in that film or on that TV show or in that episode, and it's like, yeah, that's right. I got a tick. I had a tick like on my
Yeah,
inner
right.
thigh, almost on my groin, when I was, doing that scene in that film, and like different things like that, man. That's another thing.
No, I always have this weird superpower of remembering the most smallest of details. Like with
Hmm.
my friends, I just like this is a made up one, but for example, I just like, hey, remember that one time at class back in 11th grade, we were just hanging out. You were playing with that weird yo-yo with the Kermit the Frog thing, and we were talking about the real world. And he was like, no, that is so what?
Hmm.
And I was just like, I don't know. I just remember details like that. That's the same thing how I feel with my past experiences because I don't want to forget them. Is even though like this one gig that I did, I had to just sit outside for hours for the student film that some NYU students were making, and I just stood there just so that I could wait for this U-Haul to be there because we want to save that spot so that way all the stuff which I was going to drive the next day from Brooklyn to New Jersey and then back again to return the U-Haul. And it's just like, oh boy, but I don't want to forget that because I can say, well, I toughed it out, I did it, and that's another thing that can drive. I done so many weird, odd tasks that
Hmm.
I don't want them to go in vain. Like that's the main thing because there have just been times where I'm like, maybe I should quit, maybe I should do this, but then I just feel like, but no, then all those internships, all those PA gigs, it'll feel like they'll go in vain. And I also one thing that my dad has integrated into my head is like never live a life where you regret.
Oh
There are
yeah.
some other things that I regret, but they're like small things or like weird arguments I get into with my girlfriend and my friends that were petty. But like big regrets would just be like not taking that opportunity or not really pushing forward. Cause another time I thought I was going to quit. I remember again another podcast I listened to. One of my favorite voice actors, Phil Lamar, who voiced Samurai Jack, Static
Hmm.
Shock, and many other people, he was talking about his experience. And there was just a time he wanted to quit, and he just told himself, the little voice inside his head said, "Did you try everything?" And it would always be no. So for all you listening out there or watching, if you are thinking about quitting, just remember, listen to the voice in your head and you ask the question, did you try everything? Until it says yes, yeah, stop. But if it keeps saying no, keep going.
Yeah. During this quarantine, well, even
Mm-hmm.
before this quarantine, it's funny you mentioned it. I sent you some links to these two web series that me and a couple of partners produce.
Yeah.
And long story short, I played a detective or a cop in a whole bunch of those ID crime shows,
Mm-hmm.
investigation discovery crime shows. Always a detective or a cop in those dramatic reenactments. And after some time, I realized, and I texted my partner. I was like, "Listen," or I texted a couple of my partners. "Listen, when was the last time we did something of our own? We got to come up with some ideas, man. I know we have like $1 each in our pocket, but we got to come up with something simple. We got to come up with something, unique and different. And since we're broke, or we don't have much of a budget, we got to figure out something that's uh, low budget. Put it on YouTube. It can be a web series."
Mm-hmm.
And then it dawned on me, if we could do an ID crime show that takes place in the DC universe, an
Mm-hmm.
ID crime show that takes place in the Marvel universe. What if Bruce Wayne went home, took off the cape and cowl, sat down in front of the TV, had a cocktail, and put on ID?
Mm-hmm.
What would Bruce Wayne see on Investigation Discovery? Or in the Marvel universe, if Tony Stark did the same thing, sat
Yeah,
down
exactly.
and watched ID,
Mm-hmm.
what would he see? And so we did this whole series. And so then quarantine happens, and it's like, all right, well, I've got season 2 of both shows in the can, edited season 2s, put them out there. All right, now how we're going to pull off season 3? Well, all right, I'll get this portable waterproof green screen. I'll put it on the deck. It's December, it's January, it's February. I'll put it out on the deck. I got some space heaters.
Mm-hmm.
Since we got a social distance, we'll shoot the son of a bitch on the back deck in the winter. I'll put some space
Oh.
heaters around them. I'll figure
Mm-hmm.
out an audio filter if I got to filter out the buzzing sound from the freaking space heaters.
Oh.
Well, then we had to postpone a couple of times, and then me and the whole family got COVID. All right, so since we all got COVID, we're all now immune. I got my second shot. The wife got her first shot,
Oh,
and
good.
the baby,
Congratulations.
thank you. And the baby's going to be at daycare How do you feel about them being inside? We're still going to social distance. We're still going to handle it, all the proper ways. And she goes, at this point, that's fine. We can shoot inside now. So now we've been knocking out stuff, but it was already such a hacked production that we're able to pull it off here in the quarantine. Very minimalist cast and crew. It's only one cast member against a green screen. It's only me shooting it and running a teleprompter, and that's it. And we're able to pull that off. And then there's always like, oh, all right, well, this one actor, he's not going to be available for a while. And then daycare falls through. And then, so I can't do it. I got to reschedule things. And so like, it's like always something that's firing shots at this production, always something firing shots at the schedule. And it's like always this close to quitting, right? Always this close to quitting. And then I'm like, all right, well, let me see. If I got so much done with this actor, then I can fill in the what I don't have with another actor. I actually shot myself doing a bunch of stuff. Maybe I'll have this other actor do this other part. And when I think about it, it's just about complete. I just work around what people are doing on what dates, and we'll make it work. And so, yeah, like, just making it work. Did you try everything to make it work? So
no, no, dude, that sounds cool. Yeah, no, we were trying, like, before I got fully employed, I was helping out a buddy of mine with his short film idea he was doing. And well, he got inspired because I was helping another person with this script he was writing called Mortal Pantheon, where the Greek pantheon is going to Earth. It's going to be shot like a mockumentary style, like Office and stuff like that. And they're trying to make the world a better place, but while being inside the humans' worlds, but they keep screwing up. And it's just like, uh-oh. And I just gathered everyone, and we had a massive Zoom call. We did a massive Zoom table read for like, I don't even remember, 5 scripts, I think. And yeah, no, it was fun. And one of them, my friend Dylan, he was just like, I got so inspired by that. I'm gonna ask you to be my associate producer for the film I'm doing called Zoe in Exile. We're gonna shoot this in my backyard. We got plenty of space. Let's do it. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And yeah, no, we just did all the procedures. We were all outside, and this was around September, so it was decent weather. It got really hot in the afternoon, but it got really cold later on, and I was in charge of like getting the fire going. So for all the actors and crew that wanted to take a break and get warmth, I'm like, get over here, guys, come on. So yeah, no, I would definitely say as soon as we figure out a way around it, we were definitely doing more, whether it's just like, even just like doing table reads or doing outdoor shoots, as long as we're all like outside and socially distanced and everything. Yeah, we just tried to make it work as best as we could. And I think that's the best thing about whether it's film or TV or whatever, you just work to your environment and you just problem solve.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just problem solve. I mean, if you just take a break, take a breath, lean back, start thinking about stuff, pull out a notepad and pencil, like an old school notepad and pencil, and you just start writing shit down.
Exactly.
Okay, here's a hack. You start doing math. Listen, Bob did all of season 3. He's not gonna be available for season 4. I'll have, Tom do all of season 4, and then we're good.
Cool.
Because Chris also did both season 3 and season 4, and so did I. So now we have enough, and it'll work. So yeah. Now let me ask you this: it's almost the end of February. Is it too late, in your opinion? Is it too late for me to say Happy New Year?
I don't think so. I feel like nowadays, I mean, for one thing, people can be like, "Do you mean the Pat's New Year or the Chinese New Year, or are we making March the New Year? Because we're just think by the time it hits, for me, I felt like it was a few days before St. Patty's Day when the lockdown happened, and that's when it's gonna hit me. I was like, a whole year. I remember. I was like, well, if I'm being locked up on St. Patty's Day, I'm not doing this alone. I just get some Carlsberg that I got from Trader Joe's. I was like, here we go.
Yeah. Yep. Well, considering that, what's the new year, new you? What's the new KEIR, new? What's the new normal, new KEIR? The new year, new KEIR.
New year, new KEIR is definitely going to be.
You can trademark that, by the way.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it. It's definitely just going to be really hauling ass, like, doing what I can in my day job, which I'll have to get back into in 12 minutes, but also just really try to focus on what does KEIR want later on. If I say I want to do my own business, if I want to make my own content, then we should like really get out of whatever funk we're in and we should do it. Definitely more running that I'm going to do because I signed up for, because my best friend and I, we're now signing up for a half marathon next month, a full marathon in April, and another half marathon in May. So that's going to be fun. And yeah, just, I don't know, just try to live life and be happy and just do the things that's going to make me happy and fulfill me. Do more, definitely get more into screenwriting, probably get some mentorship or maybe like go to more competitions and just, you can do what you do at your full-time job, but like also there's another job you have to do and that's your job. It's the U corporation. If you want to start that business, whether it's like making a donut factory or starting a clothes brand, then you just gotta like really force yourself. And I have to keep reminding myself all the time, and that's just what I gotta do. So new year, new KEIR is just unlike the previous years where I was just like moping and stuff. And that's another thing. I'm going to try not to mope a lot. I'm just because I need to be grateful because like, listen, the whole world is in shambles and you're fine. You had it, but be grateful. So just try to be more grateful, no more moping, and just like really be at it and not have any sort of minutia get in my way of what I want to do.
Well, I know you got to get back to work. I can't thank you enough for sacrificing your lunch break to join me.
No,
on
I'm just gonna fast, and by the time I get home, I'm just probably gonna order a pizza to myself.
I had to fast. I had to fast yesterday. I think I had to fast yesterday because when you start to get my age, you got to get EKGs and cholesterol, lipids, and blood drawn, and
how old are you?
40 plus.
Oh, I just turned 30 back in November. So yeah, in 10 years, I'll be right there with you.
Yeah. I'm not at the colonoscopy stage yet, but definitely at the,
I remember my dad was at that point. He's in his 60s and I remember hanging out with him the day before. He had to drink that weird thing and he mixed it up with some ginger ale to see if it would taste better. And I was like, what do you think? He's like, nope. It's awful.
It's awful. Yeah, I'm not there yet, but I'm sure I'll be sure to make a special episode of this show when that day comes. So I know you gotta, but yeah, again, I can't thank you enough for sacrificing your lunch break.
No, dude, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
I don't want to keep you too long. But of course, any plugs, links, socials you want to put out there?
So far, all I have is Instagram. Like, I don't use Twitter anymore, but my Instagram is @KeirTastic7. I'm trying to post more stuff in there. Like I have one that will come up of just showing my buddy and I were doing like this thing where we're just growing mustaches just for the hell of it. And I just do this funny one where it's like a portrait is like, and I'll just probably put #mustache march. It's gone obviously, but I just thought it was funny to have, especially trolling my girlfriend. I was just like, check it out. And she just could not stop laughing. She was just like, you look like a poor man's Freddie Mercury impersonator. Or those creepers at high schools that just go Matthew McConaughey and all that. It's like, okay, I get it. And then I had to shave it off for a week. And I was like, all right, well, this is the time to end. Right. But yeah, so KeirTastic7 on Instagram. I don't put a lot of stuff on my YouTube. I have several YouTubes. I guess you could just look up Keir Alexander or something. I have like some really bad short films I did when I was at community college. But yeah, KeirTastic7 on Instagram. And if I have more, I'd love to be on the show again. If like follow up and stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the goal. So I've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, but the goal is to reunite with guests, but 2, maybe 3, but probably just going to keep it 2. So let's just say you're this will probably be like the 134th episode of this show so far, and it's been doing pretty well during the quarantine. But let's say you were my first guest on the show, and then like Jody was my second guest. I'd have you both on and
Okay.
kind of do like this little recap, catch up roundtable thing, and then do other stuff kind of like as a joint roundtable type deal. That's where I'm kind of like looking to head with this with that. But since this is the first time you're on it, it's kind of more like a one-on-one thing. Still, again, still experimenting with the show. Every day is a different experiment, and always like evolving a little bit with the show and with everything else. Really, that's how life is.
All right, cool, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
definitely.
Well,
So,
listen, Kier, yeah, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It was a blast. It was
yeah,
fun.
no, this was a lot of fun. Thanks, Glenn. I really appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out to me too.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad we were able to work it out with all the crazy quarantine time quandaries. But yeah, man, again, it was a blast. And to my viewers, I hope I've earned the privilege of your time and viewership. I know my guest has. And until next time, you know what to do.
Yep.